Well, let's get more on this now with Joe Siracusa, who's in Perth, Australia. He's a professor of political history and diplomacy at Curtin University. Good to have you back with us, Professor. This sprawling 98-page document lists 19 defendants, one of whom is, of course, Donald Trump, and some 41 charges. Georgia's prosecutors clearly believe they have a strong case. They've certainly cast a wide net. But do you believe these charges, any or all of them, will stick?
Some of them may stick, Oscar. Look, this is a massive indictment. This is probably bigger than Watergate in my own lifetime, in which the president and the chief of staff hauled him in, this time Mike Meadows, and the mayor of New York and other people are threatened with jail sentence for 5 years. I mean, this is massive, and it would finish off any man or woman running for high office. This is the fourth case against Trump. By the time he goes to the presidential debates in a couple days, he'll be on bail in 4 states. I'm sure that's a record. Look, his supporters will think this is just more of the same. He's been accused of treason and other things like that. And the people going after him are going after him, of course, Oscar, with grand jury indictments, which is based on the balance of probability. And you got to prove some of these things in the courtroom beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's quite a different standard. So you can say what you want at the indictment level. When you get to the courtroom, you got to do what you're doing. Now, the fact that this is going to be televised is good news for Donald Trump, because I don't know any politician in my lifetime who is able to use television more effectively than the 45th president of the United States.
Professor, you say this latest indictment could potentially finish Trump off politically speaking, but as we know, there's nothing in the US Constitution that explicitly says that anyone under investigation or indeed even convicted of a crime is barred from running for the highest office in the United States. Do you believe that even if he is convicted in any of these indictments, he still has the potential to re-enter the White House as president?
Oscar, he not only has the potential, but every time they go after him, it becomes more likely. His numbers have shot up to 57%. The New York Siena poll shows him having a lock on the nomination for the Republican Party, and he's probably now a 6-5 favorite to win the general election if Biden can stay the course for the next year or so. So, you know, the going after him just seems to put more oxygen in the room, revives his career, you know, and every time they go after him, he raises money and he raises numbers. I mean, this guy is a phenomenon. It's not supposed to happen like this. In my lifetime, people have dropped out of the presidency for some very, very minor issues. You'd think he'd crawl away here, but he's not going anywhere, Oscar. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to bet against this guy because he defies all odds.
Taking a closer look at this indictment, because this latest case stems from a January 2021 phone call in which Trump urged Georgia's top election official, Brad Raffensperger, to, quote, find enough votes to reverse his narrow loss in the state. Raffensperger, as we know, declined to do so. But how damaging is this phone call for Trump's defense?
Well, I think you could interpret the phone call a number of ways. He says, you know, find me the votes. What he means is see if you can find any fraud there. I think his lawyers could probably argue around that one. And, you know, and in some places, Oscar, tape recording people without their permission is a criminal act and therefore inadmissible in a court of law. I mean, the fact that they're using a purloined tape to nail him with this, I find very amusing. They broke the law to try to break him with the law. But I'll tell you what really bothers me about this case. We have the former president of the United States in the dock, and it's quite clear that the district attorney in Fulton County wants to put 18 people on the dock with him at the same time. She wants to put him in a cage like a mafioso or organized criminals or cartel people in Ecuador. She wants to treat them like a zoo, try them all on one day. And this is, of course, preposterous. I mean, she knows that this is going to be very hard. And I noticed in her news conference, she said, you know, they're all presumed innocent, and we got to prove something in a courtroom. I mean, she knows that some of this is a little weak, but all these prosecutors going after Trump, I'm not going to say they're in cahoots together, but I'm I'm sure this particular district attorney has had a conversation with the fellow in Washington about the dates and all the rest of it. They're all sort of maximizing the law or weaponizing various statutes.
Yes.
I mean, even if Trump was trying to change votes, I hardly doubt it was a criminal conspiracy undertaken by 19 people to change the course of history. Frankly,
Yes.
Oscar, I don't think Donald Trump is that smart. He's not the kind of guy you put in charge of a major conspiracy like that.
And Professor, before we let you go, you mentioned earlier that despite his many indictments, he's fourth now, his support seems to grow, certainly if opinion polls are to be believed that he's the presumptive Republican presidential nominee at this stage. But does he win the support of both moderates and his traditional hardcore right-wing base? Are they both behind him?
Yes, he does, I think. I think he does. They're not going to give up on him because they don't really believe all these charges.
Okay, Professor Joe Siracusa, we'll have to leave it there, but thanks as always for
Okay,
joining us on the program.